Good morning, everyone. So it's 10 o'clock already. So I will start now with the quiz. I hope that your team members, whoever's in a team, has already joined through the YouTube live stream right now. So yeah, I'll just begin. All right. So 15 questions, no negative marking. And star mark questions will act as tiebreakers. 11 to 15 are star mark questions. Make sure that you answer all of them. My decision is final. And I also want to inform everyone that the 15th question is an audio question. So what happens here is that once I read the question, I will play the audio for a minute. And right after I pause the audio, you'll all have 30 seconds before I close the form. So ensure that you submit your form within those 30 seconds. Yesterday, we had a problem. A lot of people could not submit their forms. I don't want that to happen today. I don't want to exclude anyone deliberately, but we just have to do it so that we can be done with this quickly and start with the finals. All right, so I will begin the quiz now. Question number 1. In 1969, an editor at Random House commissioned X to illustrate Alice in Wonderland for a small exclusive edition of their Book of the Month series. X created 12 heliogravers, a frontispiece which he signed in every copy from the edition, and one illustration for each chapter of that book. Signatures of his style are noticeable as Alice's posture in a few of these illustrations, in all of these illustrations, comes from the subject of a pastoral work of his from 1936 and an object in one of the three images provided, IDX. So we have three images here. So I want you to give me the artist who illustrated this special edition of Alice in Wonderland. If you look at the three images, I think you should be able to answer. It's fairly easy. All right. So I'll move on to the next question. Question number 2. These images are of the Galarian versions of Pokemon Zigzagoon, Linoon, and Obstagoon are seen from the Nintendo Switch games Pokemon Sword and Shield. The images caused a stir with various media outlets when they noticed the similarity of the Linoon with the aesthetic of a very popular American rock band from the 1970s. Although no explicit mention of an influence has been made by developer Game Freak, even the bass guitarist of that band agreed to said similarities after the release of its trailer, saying, Pokemon has been a part of our household for decades, ever since our kids first discovered them, and to see Pokemon who pay homage to us is flattering. Name the band. Again, I think quite easy to tell from the images. Right? I want you to give me the name of the band or even the name of the musician who's being imitated here. Either way, it's fine. All right. So I'll move on to question number 3. A boom in the population of followers of this religion occurred in 2001 when more than 70,000 people, that is 0.37%, declared themselves to be followers in the 2001 census. Over 53,000 people in New Zealand in a census that very year too named themselves as followers of it, amounting to 1.5% of the population. Statistics New Zealand treated these responses as, quote, answer understood but will not be counted. England, too, in its census that year, revealed that 0.7% of its population called themselves followers of it. The move itself seemed to be a protest against the inclusion of a religion category in the national census in countries with a large amount of diversity, although dwindling numbers in recent years suggest otherwise. Name this particularly peace-loving religion whose insistence on maintaining justice is a defining quality. So you have to give me the name of the religion. All right. So there was a boom in there was a boom in their numbers in 2001. And then again, people thought that, well, it might be because there was a religion category included in a lot of these countries, which are melting pots. But then like numbers have dwindled in recent years. So it just probably was a phenomenon that lasted for a very short period of time. I'll move on to question 4. In the classic MGM science fiction film from 1956, Forbidden Planet, a scientist called Dr. Morbius lives on a distant planet with his daughter Altera and a servant in the form of a robot, Robbie. Their ideal is disturbed by visiting spacemen, and this results in attacks from a mysterious, disembodied entity, a monster of the id, summoned by Mobius' unconscious mind, using the ancient high-tech machinery on the planet. Due to its themes and characters being analogous to a particularly important Jacobean play, Forbidden Planet is considered to be a loose adaptation of that play, i.e. the play. So here I have given you a sort of summary of what goes on in the story. And if you look at it, then the summary is quite similar to a particular play from about 400 years ago. So I want the name of the play on which this movie is based, or rather it's loosely adapted, not based. Right? So I'll move on to question number 5 then. Dash Dash is a Scottish rock band formed in Glasgow in 2002. The band is one of the more popular post-punk revival bands, garnering multiple UK top 20 hits. The band name was originally inspired by a racehorse called Dash Dash, where its first name denotes the political standing of the figure it was named after. After seeing the horse win the Northumberland Plate in 2001, the band began to discuss this name and thought it would be a good band name because of the alliteration and the implications of the person's death after whom the band has been named. According to Alex, lead guitarist and vocalist, the person's life, or at least the ending of it, was the catalyst for the complete transformation of the world, and that is what we want our music to be. Paul, the drummer, added, I like the idea that if we become popular, maybe the name will make people think of the band instead of the historical figure. Identify the band. So the name of the band is taken from this very popular historical figure, and a figure who was seminal in the shaping of the modern world. So I want the name of the band, which is the name of the person, right? So I will move to question number 6. Please make sure that you fill in your forms correctly because there won't be a rerun for obvious reasons. So please make sure that you fill in your forms correctly and on time. X is an Indian artist whose work was so successful that it was eventually accepted and promoted as a national Indian style within British art institutions. As a writer, he's especially popular for the books he wrote for children. He was influenced by the Mughal school of painting as well as Whistler's aestheticism. In his later works, X started integrating Chinese and Japanese calligraphic traditions into his style after coming into contact with Japanese art historian Okakura Kakuzo and painter Yokoyama Taikan. X's work was so successful that it was eventually accepted. I just repeated the first question. So anyway, he was a very influential artist, and his style was so popular that British institutions took up his style and started to display it as if it was the national Indian style of art. Here are a few examples of his works. All right. So this is question number 6. I'll move on to question number 7 then. At the age of 17, going by the name of Davy Jones, this British singer-songwriter, actor, and future Rock and Roll Hall of Fame member founded the Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Long-Haired Men, an organization aimed at protesting the treatment that he and other men with long hair received on the streets of London. He had a feud with the producer on the music series Gazooks It's All Happening, who was insistent that he trim his hair before performing on the show. The teenager's act was dropped when he allegedly told them, "I wouldn't have my hair cut for the Prime Minister, let alone the BBC." In an interview there, he commented on the reason as to why the society had to be founded. He said, "I think we're all fairly tolerant, but for the last 2 years, we've had comments like, 'Darling,' and 'Can I carry your handbag?' thrown at us, and I think it just has to stop now." Who is the singer-songwriter? So he's a singer-songwriter, an actor, and highly influential, one of the all-time greats, let's just say. At the time, he did not have the name that we know him by today. Back then, he was known as Davy Jones. And so he founded something called the Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Long-Haired Men. Right? So I'll move to question number 8 then. Among the plethora of shows in the early 2000s that helped HBO become royalty in the field of serialized storytelling, one of the most important shows had to undergo a minor but important change to ensure public confusion over its content. The change was that one of the letters in the show's logo was made to look like an item used prominently in the show, so that promotional posters and stills did not make it seem like it is about musicians or anything remotely to do with music, a confusion that could arise given the name of the show. Which seminal TV show is being talked about, and what is the item that one letter in the show's logo was changed into? So there's two parts to this question, and you get 0.5 for each. I won't give you full points for just giving me one part. It's a TV show from the early 2000s, very popular. And because of its name, HBO was afraid that people might end up thinking that it's about musicians or it had a lot to do with music and all of that. But apparently it is not related to any of that, even remotely. So to do that, they had to just make a change in the show's logo. What is that change? And also, what is the show that we are talking about? If you know the show, you will know the change. So I want both parts, 0.5 for each. Right, so question number 9 then. Animators in general try to refrain from having too many scenes set at night in their films due to increased color requirements and the amount of work required to incorporate light and color seamlessly, which is a lot more intensive. This is why X is all the more iconic, as a large part of the film takes place at night. Of the 327 shades of color that we get to see in X, 50 was specifically created to be used in the film itself to add a greater visual depth to its night scenes. The movie's live-action adaptation was supposedly going to be Chris Nolan's next feature after Interstellar, a rumor that had gained a large amount of media traction at the time. Name X. So in animation, animators tried not to have too many scenes at night because the lighting and all of that takes a lot of hard work. And so this film is visually extravagant, let's just say, and all the more important because most of its scenes take place at night. And so all the colors that we see in the film, there's 50 colors that were created specifically for this film. After Interstellar released, there was a lot of buzz that Nolan might be making a live action adaptation. He didn't end up making it, of course, or at least hasn't till now. So what's the film that I'm talking about? It's a very iconic film, animated film again. So I'll move to question number 10 then. This is the final question, which is not star marked. From 11, we'll have star marked questions. Spiders of the genus Decis volcana are water-adapted spiders and live in the intertidal zone on reefs, marine debris, and under rocks. When researchers found a new intertidal species on the shores of northeastern tropical Queensland, they named it Decis X. This was done because the name itself was inspired from a particular work of an artist from 1973, as the spiders reside in a habitat with tidal alternations, basically next to the ocean. Name the artist after whom this spider species is named. So again, as has been mentioned, Decis X is what the name of X is what you have to give me. It's named after a particular artist, a very popular artist, and that is because the spiders live right next to the ocean. That's why they've been given the name, and an ocean has tidal alternations, right, throughout the day. So from that, the name of the species has been derived. I want the name of the artist. I mean, if you give me the name of the species, that will be fine, great as well. But then it's basically the name of the artist himself. So yeah. Now we'll start with the star marked questions. These are very important for tie breaking. Question number 11 then. This album was the band's first recording with an orchestra, which was a collaboration with avant-garde composer Ron Giesen. The name of the album was a last-minute decision by the band when they were inspired by an eponymous newspaper article about a woman with a pacemaker who had given birth. The cover was equally unplanned, with the photographer claiming to have gone out into the countryside and taken a picture of the first thing he saw, which was a black and white cow standing in a green pasture. The use of noises, incidental sound effects, and voice samples would thereafter be an important part of the band's sound. The album went straight to #1 on the albums chart, but that was retrospectively rejected by the band members decades later as quote unquote a load of rubbish. Which band and which album? Two-part question, you get 0.5 for each part. Give me the name of the band whose album I'm talking about, which used this photo of a cow in a green field as its cover. And I also want the name of the album. The album was named after an article about a woman with a pacemaker who had given birth, which I can only assume is quite a rarity or something really extraordinary. So I want both of them, the name of the album and the name of the artist. All right. So I'll move to question number 12. X is a ballad recorded by Canadian singer Y for a movie starring a co-Canadian in the lead role. The idea behind the song was to make it sound similar to a previous song by Y and for it to thematically represent the lead character's personal stakes and serve as an emotional through line for many of the characters in the film, which was to play over the film's James Bond-like opening credits. Upon being released as a single in 2018, it reached #1 on the US Dance Club Songs chart, ID X and Y. So it's a Canadian singer who's known for a particular song, and this song which is for a movie, was to actually a tribute to that song. So they kind of got that person to do it only, and the song was to play over the film's opening credits, which are James Bond like. It's not a James Bond film, but the credits are, very emotionally charged and very visually exquisite to look at, like you have in James Bond films. So I want both the name of the artist and the name of the song. If you just give me the name of the movie, I won't give you points. Let me just mention that. I want the specific name of the song and the artist, of course. All right, so question number 13 then. As a part musical, but one intended to emulate the aesthetic and energy of a video game, X is a movie that gives a lot of subtle nods to classic video games through a number of aspects of it. The universal logo is made to look like a clip from an 8-bit game. The director got the permission to use the classic theme music from The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past, and also various sound effects from it. The name of a rival band is The Clash at Demon Head, a reference to a lesser-known NES game, Clash at Demon Head. The name of the lead character's band refers to an enemy character named Bomb from Super Mario Bros. 2 that looks like a small round bomb with a lit fuse, legs, and eyes. Name X. So I want the name of a film. The film has, so the lead character's band is named after these enemy characters called Bombs from Super Mario Bros. 2. There's also a lot of other nods to classic video games, like, the universal logo when the movie begins is like an 8-bit video games intro, and There's also the music from Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past. There's a rival band in the film, a rival of the protagonist's band, that is, which is named after an NES game called Clash at Demon Head. I want the name of the film which has all of this. It's a movie that has a lot of music in it, and it's also it's made to look like a video game. It's completely, the graphics and the energy, all of it is like that of a video game. So I want the name of the movie, right? Number 14 then, the penultimate question. Connect these images to an album, 5 points each for naming the album and the artist. You have 4 images here. You have an image of the Strokes, a very popular band that is. You have a photo of the phone from the Adam West Batman show from the 1960s. You have a poster of Blade Runner, and you have a Steinway and Sons piano. So all of these images are connected to a particular album, and I want you to give me the name of the album and the artist of that album. Strokes, phone from the Batman TV show, Blade Runner, Steinway and Sons. The album has innumerable references to pop culture. These 4 are just a few of them, and probably the most recognizable ones as well. All right. So if we are done, before I move on to the final question, I'll repeat again. I'll read the question, and after that, I will start playing an audio file. I'll play the audio file for a minute, and right after the audio file ends, you have 30 seconds to submit your forms, after which the forms will be closed. Please do that. Again, as I've said, I don't want to exclude anyone. So I'll just go to the next question. The haunting choral title track that plays throughout the film is a wedding song sung to dispel all evil influences. It is thematically consistent, as the idea of the track was to convey, quote, the marriage between man and machine, the predominant theme of the film. The composer originally wanted to use Bulgarian folk singers, but was unable to find any, so he relied on the Japanese folk song choir he had used earlier in a work of his. The track uses an ancient form of the Japanese language mixed with Bulgarian harmony and traditional Japanese notes. What you're about to hear is a performance of a Bulgarian folk song called Kaval's Viri, which I cannot assert was directly an influence, but the vibratory chants are exactly what can be heard in the title track in question. And given the composer's statements on the Bulgarian influence on this work, it is safe to say that this style is exactly what the movie's title track imitates. Name the movie. So I will now play the track. Again, I cannot claim that this is exactly an influence, but you can hear the influence. All right, so here we go. At the end, you'll have 20 seconds, 30 seconds to submit your forms after I pause this. All right, so you have exactly 30 seconds now. Please submit your forms. After 30 seconds, I will ask my VP to close the forms. Yeah. So the title track of that film, I want the name of the film, just to be clear again, in which the title track uses or rather takes inspiration from a track like this or similar tracks. Forms closing in 10. Okay, forms are closed then. So just don't leave the meeting. I will be sharing the answers in a few minutes. Just give me a couple of minutes. All right, just a couple of minutes. Yeah, so I'll just start with the answers. I guess you can unmute yourself if you have the answers. Um, yeah, so the first question, I wanted the name of the artist. If you want to give your answer, you can unmute yourself.
Dali.
Yes, it is Salvador Dali. The second question,
Yes.
Pokemon.
Yes.
Yeah, Kiss. If you give Gene Simmons, I will give you points for that since they are emulating Gene Simmons. The third one is a certain religion.
Jediism.
Yeah, it is Jediism, or Jedis as they are called.
The Tempest.
Yeah, the play is The Tempest. Which
Franz
band, which is
Ferdinand.
Franz Ferdinand, named after Archduke Franz Ferdinand. Then comes the sixth question. Which Indian artist?
Rabindranath Tagore.
Correct. The answer is Rabindranath Tagore. The next question is, which musician are we talking about?
Bowie.
Correct. It is David Bowie. He was known as Davy Jones at the time, part of the Manish Boys. The next question, which show?
Sopranos and the R being a gun.
Correct. Sopranos are made to look like a gun, or else people might think it's about musicians with a soprano voice, perhaps. Which movie am I talking about?
Akira.
Animated film. Correct again. Akira. The 10th question, which musician has it been named after?
Bob Marley.
Dylan.
Jimi Hendrix.
It is Bob Marley, named after high tide or low tide. This is Bob Marley. So now the star marked questions. Which band, which album?
This is Atom Heart Mother by Pink Floyd.
Correct. Atom Heart Mother by Pink Floyd. Atom Heart Mother because of the woman who gave birth with a pacemaker. Okay. Which musician, which song?
Ashes by Celine Dion.
It is Ashes by Celine Dion from Deadpool 2, a tribute to her own song, My Heart Will Go On. Number 13.
Scott
Pilgrim versus the World.
Correct. Scott Pilgrim versus the World. A lot of video game references in it. Number 14. Which album, which band?
Tranquility Base Hotel and Casino. And Arctic Monkeys.
It is Tranquility Base Hotel and Casino. The Strokes and Blade Runner being in the first song, Star Treatment. Bat Phone, a name of a song, and Steinway and Sons being in The Ultra Cheese, which is the final song. And the final one,
Ghost in the Shell.
Ghost in the Shell.
Yes, it is Ghost in the Shell, the title track being Making of a Cyborg. All right then. So you can leave the meeting or you can stay in the meeting. We'll let you know about the results in the group itself.